At 72, Henry had always taken pride in his independence. He still mowed his lawn, walked to the store, and even danced with his granddaughter at her birthday party. But recently, something changed. It started small. His knees felt stiff in the morning. Then he needed to grip the railing to climb the stairs. And one day he stumbled just getting out of his favorite armchair. He brushed it off as just getting older, but he had no idea that what he was experiencing was the beginning of muscle atrophy, the slow, invisible weakening of leg muscles that strikes first and fastest as we age. And once your legs weaken, everything changes. Your risk of falling skyrockets, your balance falters, and your independence slips away. But here's the truth no one's telling you. It doesn't have to be this way. The solution isn't just in the gym, it's in your kitchen. Your body needs the right foods to maintain strong legs, restore lost muscle, and stay mobile for years to come. And the foods we're about to show you aren't exotic or expensive. They might already be in your pantry. In today's video, we reveal 6 scientifically backed superfoods that can transform weak, aching legs into powerful, steady supports. Sweet potatoes. Fuel endurance, aid in muscle recovery, and fight chronic inflammation. Oats stabilize energy, boost circulation, and prevent painful leg cramps. Avocados, rich in potassium and healthy fats that keep your joints flexible and legs pain-free. Berries, packed with antioxidants that slow muscle aging and rebuild collagen. Salmon, a powerhouse of omega-3s and B vitamins that repair muscle fibers and sharpen nerve function. Eggs, full of complete protein, vitamin D, and choline to rebuild strength and coordination. If you've noticed even the smallest sign, wobbly knees, slower steps, or muscle fatigue, it's time to act. This video could literally save your legs. Stay with us. Your future strength starts with what's on your plate today. Legs feeling weaker? Type 1 to discover 6 foods that keep them strong. Sophia, a retired librarian from Oregon, always believed that staying active was enough. She walked her dog every morning, volunteered twice a week, and avoided fast food. But one rainy afternoon, everything changed. As she stepped off her porch, her leg gave out, and she fell hard onto the pavement. At the hospital, the doctor didn't mince words. "Your legs are weakening. It's not just age, Sophia. It's muscle atrophy, and it's been progressing silently for years." She was stunned. She hadn't been ignoring her health, so how had this happened? The answer hit her like a wave: nutrition. Sophia, like millions of older adults, had focused so much on staying active that she completely overlooked what was happening inside her body. As we age, we lose 3 to 5% of muscle mass per decade, unless we deliberately fight it with targeted nutrients. Without the right fuel, even the best intentions and daily routines can't protect us from deterioration. It was a wake-up call. Sophia returned home with a bruised hip, a shaken sense of confidence, but a new mission: to reclaim her strength, starting with what she eats. Her granddaughter helped her research the top foods for leg health, and they built a plan together. What she discovered blew her mind. It wasn't about fancy supplements or restrictive diets. The key was in everyday, accessible foods, each offering a specific benefit that her aging body desperately needed. She began adding sweet potatoes for energy and recovery, oats to stabilize her blood sugar and circulation, and avocados for joint relief. She snacked on berries for antioxidants, grilled salmon twice a week for omega-3s, and made eggs her go-to breakfast for their complete proteins and vitamin D. Within weeks, she noticed a difference: fewer aches, steadier steps, better balance. She could rise from the couch with ease, And most importantly, she felt hope again. Sophia's turning point wasn't a gym membership, it was a grocery list. Just when Caleb thought he had turned the corner, the unexpected hit him, literally. 3 months into his new diet, Caleb was doing better. His steps were firmer. He no longer clutched the banister like a lifeline. Every week he felt a bit more like his old self. But one morning while carrying groceries into his home, he misjudged a single step. His right leg didn't lift high enough. He tripped face forward onto his stone walkway. His neighbor Victoria found him moments later, disoriented and bleeding. At the ER, tests revealed a fractured wrist and bruised ribs. But what hurt most wasn't the pain. It was the crushing realization. He wasn't invincible. "I thought I was getting stronger," Caleb whispered to the nurse, shame coloring his voice. "You are," she replied gently. "But your body's still recovering. Nutrition is the fuel, but it takes time." That night, lying alone in his hospital bed, Caleb faced a truth he had been avoiding. Years of silent muscle decline couldn't be reversed overnight. His legs had been deteriorating for decades without him knowing. The foods were working, but he had underestimated just how deep the damage went. Still, something strange happened in the days that followed. Instead of giving up, Caleb grew more determined. Physical therapy began the next week, and his therapist, Leo, sat him down with a simple truth. "Your fall wasn't a failure. It was a checkpoint. You're on the right path, but you need to stay the course." Caleb doubled down on his diet. He added resistance exercises. He journaled every meal and every improvement. Within a month, he could walk a mile again. 2 months later, he no longer needed the cane. And this time, when he climbed the stairs to his porch, he did it without fear. That unexpected fall could have shattered his spirit, but instead, it became the fire that lit his comeback. Amelia had watched her husband Caleb struggle through his injury and recovery with quiet strength. But what surprised her most wasn't how hard he worked. It was how much he changed. Before his fall, Caleb was stubborn. Like many men his age, he believed weakness was just a part of getting old. He used to roll his eyes at superfoods and dismiss healthy eating as for women and athletes. But now, he measured his oats every morning, roasted sweet potatoes with care, and refused to go a day without his avocado smoothie. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set, Amelia turned to him and asked, "Do you ever wish this never happened?" Caleb paused, then shook his head. Honestly, I needed the wake-up call. I used to think getting weaker was just my fate, but now I realize it was a choice I didn't know I was making. That was the moment his perspective had fully shifted. It wasn't about staying young. It wasn't even about avoiding another fall. It was about choosing strength on purpose every single day. He stopped seeing food as fuel and started seeing it as medicine. Every bite was now an act of reclaiming control. His new mindset was contagious. Amelia began joining him on walks. Their granddaughter Zoe started making berry parfaits with them on weekends. Meals became a celebration of health, not a reminder of aging. Caleb also began talking more openly with friends at church, sharing his journey, warning them not to wait for a crisis. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like age was something closing in around him. He felt strangely limitless. He understood now. Aging doesn't steal your strength. Neglect does. And with the right mindset, the right food, and the right habits, you can not only slow the decline, you can reverse it. Caleb hadn't just healed physically, he'd transformed mentally. And once your perspective changes, everything else follows. A few months later, Caleb received a surprising invitation. A senior wellness center in his town was launching a new pilot program focused on strength through nutrition, and they wanted him to be the first to try it out. He hesitated. Was he really the kind of person they wanted as a success story? But Amelia smiled and said, "You didn't just recover, you transformed." People need to see that. The program was simple yet revolutionary. A blend of physical therapy, group support, and a meal plan built entirely around the 6 superfoods he now swore by: sweet potatoes, oats, avocados, berries, salmon, and eggs. Each week, participants cooked together, swapped recipes, and shared stories. Caleb found himself surrounded by men and women in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, many of whom had gone years without hope that their legs could ever feel strong again. But something beautiful happened. By week 3, one man who used to shuffle slowly down the hallway was walking without his walker. By week 5, a woman who feared stairs for a decade took them 2 at a time, laughing all the way. Caleb watched it unfold with awe. He realized this wasn't just about food or exercise. It was about believing in your body again. That strength wasn't just for the young, that the right habits, done consistently, could unlock doors they thought had long been shut. He helped others prep meals, encouraged them through setbacks, and led small walking groups after class. His body had grown stronger, but now his purpose had too. For the first time in a long time, he felt useful, needed, and deeply alive. The opportunity that came from his fall wasn't just recovery, it was rebirth of his identity, his mission, and his impact on others. Because when one person dares to reclaim their strength, they give others permission to do the same. By the time spring rolled around, Caleb was no longer just a participant in the program. He had become its heart. Each morning he arrived early to greet new members, now affectionately called Coach Caleb by the group. The man who once feared getting out of his recliner was now leading warm-ups, hosting cooking demos, and offering advice with a quiet confidence earned through hardship. But it wasn't just about stronger legs anymore. Something deeper had shifted. Caleb had become a man who believed in change, not only for himself, but for everyone around him. He started journaling his journey, writing short reflections on what it meant to grow older and still grow stronger. He even began mentoring a younger veteran named Ryan, who had been struggling with early signs of muscle fatigue and depression. Together they talked food, failure, fear, and faith. Caleb didn't sugarcoat the setbacks, but he always ended each conversation the same way. "You're not too old. You're just not done yet." Every week, Caleb saw the results of consistency. His legs didn't just regain strength, they gained agility. His balance wasn't just better, it was unshakable. And more than anything, his confidence returned piece by piece with every step he took. He was no longer afraid of stairs, no longer worried about falling, no longer living in quiet resignation. Now he moved with intention. He ate with purpose. He lived like he mattered again. And while the 6 foods, sweet potatoes, oats, avocados, berries, salmon, and eggs, had rebuilt his body, it was belief, discipline, and hope that rebuilt his spirit. That was the real transformation. Not just muscles that worked, but a man who had reclaimed his identity, his freedom, and his power on his own terms. Caleb's story had started with weakness, but now every part of his life pulsed with strength. On a crisp Saturday morning, Caleb stood in front of a room full of strangers at a local community event titled reclaiming strength after 60. His hands trembled, not from weakness, but from emotion. Just 1 year ago, he had nearly lost his independence. Now he was standing tall, steady, and proud, sharing the journey that had given him back his life. "I used to think getting older meant growing weaker," he said, voice steady. "But I've learned something else. Growing older just means you have to get smarter about how you fight for your strength." The crowd hung on every word. He talked about the moment he fell, the fear that followed, and the foods that changed everything. He named each one like they were old friends. Sweet potatoes for energy, oats for endurance, avocados for flexibility, berries for protection, salmon for healing, eggs for rebuilding. "I didn't just eat differently," he continued. "I started believing differently. I stopped waiting for someone to save me. I saved myself, one meal, one walk, one day at a time." The room erupted in applause. After the talk, people lined up to speak with him. One woman in her 80s whispered, "You gave me hope today." A man on a cane said, "I thought I was the only one." Caleb smiled, knowing exactly how they felt. That deep loneliness, that silent fear of decline. He had walked through all of it. And now he stood on the other side. He wasn't a fitness model. He wasn't a doctor. He was something far more powerful. Proof. Proof that change is possible. Proof that strength can return. Proof that you're never too old to take back your life. His journey started with a fall, but it ended with a rise. One that lifted not just himself, but everyone around him. Because true strength doesn't just rebuild legs, it reignites lives. Aging is inevitable, but losing your strength isn't. What Caleb discovered wasn't just about food or physical therapy. It was the truth most people never hear until it's too late. You have more control over your health than you think. Your legs, your foundation, don't just fail overnight. They weaken quietly, gradually, and often without warning. But every small choice you make, every bite you take, every meal you prepare can either fuel that decline or reverse it. Caleb's greatest lesson wasn't about falling, it was about rising, about refusing to accept frailty as his fate, about realizing that no matter how many years you've lived, there's still more strength waiting to be unlocked. It doesn't take a miracle, it takes belief, consistency, and the right nutrition. Because the real battle isn't with age, it's with inaction. Here's where you begin. Tomorrow morning, swap that sugary breakfast cereal for a warm bowl of steel-cut oats with fresh blueberries. At lunch, replace white bread with mashed avocado on whole grain toast, topped with a hard-boiled egg. For dinner, enjoy a serving of grilled salmon with a side of roasted sweet potatoes. Repeat this pattern. Add a daily walk, even just 10 minutes. Stay hydrated. Journal how your legs feel. In 30 days, you won't just feel a difference, you'll see it. Small choices become powerful habits. Habits rebuild muscles. Muscles restore freedom. Your second chance at strength starts today, right at your dinner table. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and share with your friends. Your support keeps these stories alive. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if today's story touched your heart, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, stay well, and see you in the next story.